This is Sarah. Sarah is the new owner of an ICT startup company, XLIT. XLIT is a growing ICT company with a focus on online game development. Its products are popular in New Zealand market, and because of its success here, the company plans to expand to other markets. XLIT has been in operations for 3 years and grew to 52 employees. However, it has become a victim of its success when it could not properly manage its growth and the problems created by it, particularly on people management and the failure to reach its performance targets. There is a need to put proper HR system in place, and its leadership team will help people management to handle the growing operational and compliance issues in the organization. Here comes James to the rescue. James is a knowledgeable HR professional. He suggests conducting an HR audit for XLIT. The proposed audit will be strategic. Strategic HR is a comprehensive audit that spans all HR activities. The audit will assess the strengths and weaknesses of HR systems, processes, and strategies, and how well these are achieving the results they intended to achieve. The audit will produce information that will be useful for XLIT in setting up a proper HR system and a good start for the new HR manager role. Conducting HR audit will bring benefits to XLIT. By reviewing the HR activities, the audit can assess the effectiveness on the implementation of policies to achieve the organizational goals. The audit will also recognize the gaps in the implementation of policies, procedures, and practices, and will recommend corrective steps and measures to resolve these gaps. On the other hand, no action done could pose some risk to the company, such as the following. A poor people management can leave people upset and leave the company. Any shortcomings in complying with employment legislation can present costs to the company associated with any breach. Lack of a standard performance assessment can result to a lower motivational level across the organization and loss of productivity, which can impact the company's profitability. Lack of engagement to employees can lead to a low motivational levels and higher turnover. Lack of planning to support the growing operations, be in the form of additional workforce or new technology, can put a lot of strain to employees to cope up with the demand of work. And higher turnover rate can affect the employer brand perception and eventually losing out on top candidates who prefer to work in more stable companies. The audit will collect data that centers on objectives, structure, and HR-related activities. The scope of a comprehensive audit will cover the following areas. HR functions. The audit evaluates HR systems and effectiveness of its policies, processes, and practices. Information gathered here will be critical on justifying the setup for an HR manager role. Managerial compliance, which covers managerial observance of policies, procedures, and legal provisions. Organization's climate, which involves employee motivation, morale, and job satisfaction. And organizational strategy, which determines the organization's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, which will be important on designing and planning their HR strategy. The audit's target audience will be the XLIT's management, who will be making the decisions out of the audit's findings and recommendations, and XLIT's shareholders, who will be critical in the company's expansion plans. They would like to invest in a well-managed company. The audit's methods will include reviewing documentation of XLIT HR activities, interviews of personnel at various levels, which will help the auditors determine the actual practice, which may or may not be the same as written on the documents. Benchmarking by comparing the XLIT processes against those of another firm, and the use of HR scorecard model by conducting cost-benefit analysis of HR activities to determine its effectiveness, efficiency, and impact. An HR audit for a small company may take no more than a few days. However, since the scope of the audit will be comprehensive, 1.5 months will be allotted time to cover the audit. The timeline covers the reviews of the documentation, interviews, creating draft report, and finalizing report by incorporating feedback received. Some of the documents that the audit team may ask include mission, vision, values, which dictates where XLIT wants to be in the future, and actions and decisions of leaders and staff are designed towards realizing this. Policy, which serves as information and guidance for managers. Process maps, programs, or procedures, which sets out how policies are to be executed. Forms and register, which can be reviewed in checking the efficiency of requesting, reporting, and recording data, and the legal requirement of keeping records for a period of time. Job description, job profile, and hierarchical structure, which can help in determining the efficiency and effectiveness of the organizational structure, including the right FTE and right roles. Performance metrics or appraisal forms or other documents that show how performance is measured and how the organization defines doing well. Reports on employee engagement, such as employee surveys, which can substantiate findings from other methods of the audit to the result of such reports. And records on training and development that will show how the company has supported its staff on handling its growth and the problems associated with it. The audit aims to pinpoint the strengths and weaknesses of HR system, and by identifying them, the audit team can then recommend actions to improve the system's effectiveness, consequently improving employee experience in XLIT's bottom line. Some of the questions that the audit team may ask include: what is XLIT's current HR system, its policies, procedures, and practices? How well the current HR system is supporting the organization to achieve its performance objectives? And what are the gaps in the HR system that resulted to failure in the organization to meet its performance objectives? These questions can be answered through the audit's methods. By reviewing the documentations, the audit team can identify if HR systems, policies, procedures, and practices are designed to achieve performance objectives. Interviewing is best to answer questions relating to awareness of staff to HR functions, and determine if managers are well supported in HR function perspective. By using scorecards, the audit team can do a cost-benefit analysis of HR activities that will help auditors to determine if XLIT has the right HR practices and how well they are aligned with XLIT's strategy. And benchmarking will help auditors discover gaps in HR system and compare against best practices and those of leading organizations. Some of the recommendations that can make the audit a success are as follows. One critical factor to success of audit is to have the top management's commitment throughout the audit. They must ensure that the support needed for the audit are provided and that their commitment is also vital after the audit is done when they do follow up on the recommendations. Another essential factor would lie on the auditor's characteristics of efficiency, high integrity, and expertise, which will be important in making the audit objective, impartial, and valuable. Next factor is the clarity in HR audit objectives. Objectives serve as guide to auditors, and having a clear one can make the audit process smooth. Having an open communication is another key for successful audit. Audit may bring fear to organization. Auditors reaching out to organization prior to the audit can help lessen the fear and concerns that the organization may have. Another recommendation is to schedule the interviews in advance. This will ensure that participants will be available on the time of the interview and leaves can be planned. And lastly, prepare to be audited. Involve the managers and staff about the audit early on with its purpose and activities that auditors may take. Prepare the documentations that auditors may be asked. Now that all details of the plan are laid out for the HR audit, Sarah is happy that things in XLIT will start to be in order and hoping that the company will be in a better shape as it grows.